So, hi, Justin. Welcome.
Hi, Rabbi. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. This is our 4-question series where it's my really fun pleasure to be able to talk to real Neshamah congregants about your relationship to Judaism, what you find meaningful, what you don't find meaningful, where you sit on that Jewish, religious versus spiritual spectrum. And then one, ask the rabbi, whatever.
Ooh.
So we're just going to talk.
4 questions.
Yep.
Very apropos right now.
Exactly. We're approaching Passover, but Judaism is always about questions at any season. One of the things that I find meaningful about it is that no questions are off limit. And in our studies together, we've been asking some really kind of radical,
probing questions.
Totally. So I want to just make sure.
You want me to move closer?
No, we're good. They're just gonna yell at me if we're not like on the camera.
Who's they?
I know the higher powers.
The
higher
the editors.
The editors.
All right.
Okay. So question number 1 for you, my friend Justin, is share with us a little bit about what makes Judaism meaningful to you. What do you love? Why are you a Jew?
So I find it interesting, or the first thing I find interesting is that you ask it in that way. What makes Judaism meaningful to you rather than what makes being Jewish meaningful to me.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about them as if they're the same to me, if that's okay.
For sure.
All right. As opposed to like one being about the liturgy and the other being about being a Jew.
Like a civilization.
Right.
Nation.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what makes it great for me is how meaningful and flexible it has been over my entire life, and how it's almost has a chameleon type thing to it, where it can adjust depending upon how old I am, where I am in my life, what's important to me.
I like that.
You do.
I do.
It has the added benefit. I'm glad you like it. It has the added benefit of being true for me, at least. Growing up in North Miami Beach, down here in Florida, one of many. I guess it's now known as Aventura, but back then it was. I don't know.
Miami Beach.
I don't know. No, I guess it would be unincorporated North Dade.
Okay. The county.
Right. We called it North Miami Beach. I had lots of different reflections on Judaism reflected through my family. So I am a grandchild of survivors.
Okay.
My grandparents survived the Holocaust.
On your mom's side, right?
On my mother's side.
Yeah.
My mom was born into displaced persons camp in Frankfurt. So I'm first generation Jewish.
Wow.
And that came... especially when I was younger, with a very strong message.
Yeah.
That message was, don't forget who you are and where you come from, and how hard it was for us to get here and have roots in America, or to lay down roots in America, really apply yourself to take advantage of that.
Of being American.
About being American, but also about studying and competing and taking advantage of all the challenges that America offered. That was different than the position that I think my grandparents were in Europe. Growing up in kind of more socialist, communist, and anti-Semitic environments.
Did it feel guilt, or did it feel like freedom? Like now we can, or some combination?
I think some combination. It's always a little more nuanced than you would think it is, Rabbi. But I would say guilt is part of the part of the ethos of Judaism. And it was interesting because growing up, then there was so then there was my father, who was really kind of more that 1880s wave of Judaism and American. I would say almost completely assimilated. And then there was my stepfather. There was a lot of his, hers, and theirs. So little Brady bunches. My stepfather, who was almost like a Christmas tree Jew from the South, from Alabama, then moved down here and married my mother and became a little bit more ingrained in Judaism. But that's not that. I don't mean that in a negative way. That side of the family taught me a lot about Judaism at that time, because they were very successful down here in Miami, running a business, and my step grandfather on that side was a congressman, and he could actually help Jews around the world, and did, especially for Russian dissidents and Jews who were in disadvantaged situations. So it was a positive experience. That's all to say, to get back to your original question, it really, Judaism really gave me a good base in order to be successful, or at least try to be successful in life at an early age.
Interesting.
It also gave me appreciation, and I'm talking about back then, and because the real benefit was the flexibility that it offered me in my life, was it gave me appreciation that there are all different types of Jews. And there are a space for everyone. We were Reform Jews. I knew a lot of conservative Jews. I knew Orthodox Jews. I knew Israelis. I knew a lot of things, a lot of flexibility, as I said. And that's what I really appreciated about it.
That's amazing.
And all of that, I think, that created a really rich tapestry for me, at least.
So it hasn't ever felt like you have to do this or that precisely to be Jewish. That there's an open door, a wide tent, and it's all.
And actually, that wide tent, I think, was really important for, at least I can speak personally, for my success in life, because when you have that kind of wide tent, there are, I don't know, how should I put it nicely, a lot of arguments, a lot of discussions, and different viewpoints within one community that get vetted, but yet we were still a community in South Florida. And actually, I'm not naive, might not be the right word, but I'm not blind to the fact that I was growing up in a very Jewish-centric environment, which I think played a very positive role for me, at least. And so I like that part of growing up and getting all those different perspectives, and it really helped me to mature and find myself in my Judaism, which, I think I was pretty darn secular, Rabbi. But, I still went to Jewish day camps and sleepover camps and had a bar mitzvah and, was engaged in Reform Judaism life. And I think that was great.
And did you ever feel like you weren't doing enough? Or, I know we always, we're human, so we always kind of have that tendency.
You mean Jewishly?
Yeah, but
Jewishly?
Yeah,
Judaistically?
Judaistically, exactly, that technical term. Because, there are so many. And I think one of the common concepts that we have is that, there's this ladder and we're always trying to do more. And Judaism does teach us to strive and to learn, and you and your family, we've been learning, and, you guys are expanding, which I think is amazing. But I think there's also a danger that we feel like we're not enough, and that, kind of some other kind of Judaism, especially if you're in Miami Beach, North Miami Beach, there is a lot of, pretty traditional Judaism around. And so I'm curious, for you, if you ever felt, like,
lesser than
yeah,
or
or judged,
yeah.
or
I have a pretty healthy ego.
okay, good. I'm
So I was very comfortable with my Judaism.
You just got it.
All right.
Amazing.
No, I was.
Okay.
I kind of, I was impetuous youth.
Yeah. Good.
Well, if they have a problem, it's their problem, not my problem.
Amazing.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Amazing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was not. It was not. Maybe there was a big tent, but I was very comfortable with my
where
part
you
in
were.
it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that speaks also to the guilt that even though there was, from your parents or certainly survivor side to,
yeah,
we can't abandon this, and we worked so hard and so much was lost, but also
right,
that, like, we're good. Right. We have it now. We're doing it now, and it doesn't have to be anything other than what we decide it is.
Yeah, I think when I look back at the generations, maybe that's how I felt, but maybe my grandma would not let me leave the table if I hadn't finished my plate. That guilt of like, you have to. What are you talking about?
Right. There's no wasting.
You just have no idea. We could not have this tomorrow. There was a healthy bit of guilt. Guilt is three times you've mentioned it, but there is always some guilt. There's skepticism.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, you can imagine coming from that environment that where there was a part of my youth where especially my grandparents and maybe even my mother was very wary of we might lose everything at any point, or
was a bad
that might be that they would just be very. It was hard to break into their circle, or they were very skeptical about people's motives, or like that. I definitely think that was part of it. I don't think it was crippling. I don't want to give a false sense. Nothing like that, but
just an awareness.
This is an awareness and a mentality, and it was well earned for my.
Sure.
They'd seen a lot of really bad things. Again, don't forget who you are and where you come from was really important, and I think it's playing out that it's really important right now for us. And so that was great, and growing up in that kind of environment really nurtured me as intellectually, emotionally, religiously, as a Jew. I'm really thankful about that. I guess the hard scrabble life of Aventura Judaism didn't maybe it didn't toughen me up enough. That would be the other side of that. I mean, look, I went from there to school. That might have been the most non-Jewish experience. Went to the Upper West Side of Manhattan, to Boca Raton. I mean, I've been in a pretty
Jewish bubble
for a while. I wouldn't say bubble. I think I'm practical about it, or at least I feel I have a sense of the world writ large. But I definitely grew up in that bubble. So it was wonderful for me. It helped me to be successful, and it helped me to go to school and really pursue my dreams, which I think is important.
And so I guess I'm going to kind of jump ahead to kind of the spiritual versus religious, because I'm really curious in your own evolution, how, it sounds like it was very cultural. You had good education. It was intellectual. It was motivating. And I, so now kind of over the trajectory of your life, has that kind of, I don't mean to put it in really a binary really either, that it's cultural or religious, but how is that played out? Because I think it's so important for people to know that, again, so beautifully, as you said, Judaism is not one thing. It is a big tent where we do try to get along. There are fights, we're family, we argue, we don't agree. But also that there's kind of an evolution that we, like you said, at different phases of life. Maybe when we're at summer camp, we're doing Havdalah and we're being more Shabbat observant because that's the culture. And then we kind of come home and we do something else, and it's still okay. Like again, I'm going to bring up the guilt thing, because I do think from what I hear, people feel like, oh, I should be doing that, or and we don't have to feel that way. We can really merge it. There's
Right.
seasons for different things.
As I said, I had a healthy ego. I did not.
You
I didn't
I'm so
sweat
glad
that.
you didn't take the guilt pill.
No,
That's amazing.
I did. I mean, don't get me wrong. I took a little bit of it,
but it didn't overpower.
It didn't
you.
overpower me. But I did experience exactly that. It's actually a good way of putting it. You go to Camp Coleman or whatever. You go to your summer camp. That was something that you did. So it was a bit of a homebody. So only a 1 semester 4-weeker for me.
Okay.
And that was a much more, to your point, religious experience. Even Reform, that's Reform religion,
for sure.
which, but a religious experience. And whereas my home life, I wouldn't say was as religious. So this is, and then you go through life and that kind of starts rotating, right? And what's important. So the first major thing for me was obviously meeting my wife, who, by all intents and purposes, was much more religious than I was.
Yes, by any measure.
By any measure, is much more knowledgeable, religious, God bless her, than I was. So I had to adapt to her, mostly because I love her very much.
Of course.
And also because it was interesting and intriguing. But there was a limit, right? So, I meet my future wife. That's in like the latter part of high school. We're dating throughout college.
This is the most amazing love story of these two people, anyways. By the way, Justin and Ivy met in high school, which we'll have a whole nother episode on your beautiful marriage.
But for this purpose, we have a very beautiful marriage. I love you, hon.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to get that in there, or else I'll get in trouble.
Definitely.
But for this purpose, like this is, and I'm putting it in my view,
perspective.
My perspective, because I don't want to speak for her. God forbid I speak for her. But she was more religious, and from my perspective, when we graduated college, and we decided we were going to live together in New York, when I was going to work and she was going to go to JTS. I mean, that's pretty serious religion.
That's up there.
That's up there. And you have to have conversations about, does she want to be a cantor? And if she wants to be a cantor, I'm going to be a cantor's husband, as well as an investment banker. Not exactly sure how those two fit together. There's obligations on either side of those.
Sides. Yeah.
So I would say I was certainly more spiritual rather than religious. Thank God she became a Jewish educator rather than a cantor, because I think, not thank God, thank God, because we need a lot of Jewish educators.
Yes.
But also because I think there is a certain balance in my life that I didn't want to go that far. Now, that all changed once again when you have kids, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to create a Jewish home for them. And so we wanted to have Shabbat every Friday, which I guess is a little bit more religious than spiritual. But for me, it was spiritual. We wanted to have Shabbat on Friday. We wanted them to, again, remember where they come from and who, and to have a sense of their Judaism. We wanted to send them to Jewish day school. Although it was a negotiation between me and Ive. I don't know if you know that, but I really wanted them also to compete, is the way I would put it, in the marketplace of ideas within their age group in America. So I wanted them to go to the best high schools and schools possible. If you're in New York, I wanted them to, to go to Bronx Science or to Fieldston or whatever. Ivy really, really, really wanted them to go to Jewish day school, and I'm actually glad that we did. The initial negotiation was that she would get them through bar mitzvah,
7th, 8th grade.
7th, 8th grade, and then I got them. Not that I got them, but then they would be allowed to go outside of the Jewish day school.
Okay.
When that occurred with our first child, unbeknownst to me, it had already been decided by my wife that would not happen.
Okay.
At that time, I lost that battle, which was fine. At that time, I was really good with it. Actually, I liked the. It's really important to give that identity to your kids, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. We do it through, Friday nights are for the family, Friday nights are for Shabbat, the holidays, temple when we can. But at some point they grow up and they become their own people, and you kind of have done the best that you can to let them.
Yeah.
So I was okay with that, and then they switched when all three switched when they were in ninth grade.
In ninth grade, yeah.
So for high school.
Okay.
But Judaism, the point again, going back, this ability to mutate to what I needed it to be, or in this case, what Ivy and I needed it to be.
And you needed it for your whole family.
And we needed it for our whole family, and even now it's different with our kids.
Yeah.
Our kids up and out of the house, and really
all over
young adults. It's back to what does it mean for me, for the two of us, and maybe not a beneficiary, becomes some circles back to you because we're like, hey, we'd really like to do Torah study, or we'd like to try this, or Ivy would like to do more within the temple, or within the institute, within Neshamah. And I love that. So like that whole thread from 0 to 50, or 55.
Right.
And I'm looking forward and excited to see what it has to offer.
That's very cool.
As we keep going.
That's a good, I don't think a lot of people have that level of just kind of your attitude of being flexible about it, of not, I have to do it this way. Like, you're not rigid. And I think that's really instructive to people. And that it can, and I do think Judaism is meant to be that way. That's frankly why we were able to survive the Holocaust. That's why we were able to survive the destruction of the Second Temple, because Judaism has a strong core, but it is meant to survive in lots of different environments. If it wasn't intended that way, we couldn't be here, because look at all of our history. So, and I think on a personal level, sometimes we forget that big message of like Jewish sustainability, honestly. And I, at least kind of in my universe, I hear sometimes, well, if we're not strict about it, then it's going to break. We have to do it this way because otherwise we're going to lose it. Well, not really. We haven't ever really lost
I would argue the exact opposite from that. In other words, and don't get me wrong, it's probably, I was talking a little bit about, there are 600 and something that we're supposed
13?
To follow, right?
13.
613.
Yeah, you're so close.
So it's a little stringent also on that side, and you can see that manifesting itself in, I have friends who take that a lot more seriously, right? They've chosen to be kosher, or they've chosen to live their life in a much more observant religious way than maybe I have. Not maybe, than I definitely have, of course. But I think not having flexibility, not having the ability to adjust to the times, relying on the core but adjust the times, will I believe it will hurt us, and is hurting us even today. Both domestically and globally. So I'll give you one example that I think we've talked about. Like the community that I came from didn't adjust enough to the population of the area, and the Reformed temples in Miami are really struggling as more Latin American Jews move in, and they pray and express their Judaism and Jewishness in a certain way that's different than what was historical or historically, and there's contraction there.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a little zero sum. There's
Mm-hmm.
other places that are becoming more successful,
Right.
and there's but that if you don't have that flexibility, if
Yeah.
you don't
Right.
realize
If we
that you
only
need
do
to
what we've
change,
always
right,
done,
we're doomed to fail.
Yeah.
So I think that flexibility is needed, but it's also, as you kind of put it, you have to be grounded,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that core is really important. So,
Awesome. Yeah. No, and I think that's also a model for our own personal growth.
right.
You know, I like that you have said at different times in your life, and you were open to discussing with your wife in a way that, you know, as a kid, you said, "Am I sending my kids to Jewish day school?" Definitely not.
Definitely not.
You know, or do I care that they sit down at a
I didn't go to
Shabbat?
Jewish day school.
Right. So if it was good enough, and a lot of us have that. I wanted to be exactly like how I was. And it's really important, I think, both personally in our spiritual lives and, like you said, kind of more globally, to know that it's okay.
Yep.
We're allowed to change. We're allowed to U-turn. We're allowed to try something for a while. We're allowed to let it go. And that, it's funny, actually, I always had an example with my kids that when we went like on vacation or skiing or whatever, and you know, they would say, "Well, am I supposed to eat the chicken nuggets or do I eat the pepperoni pizza?" And we keep kosher. So, you know, and I said, to me, honestly, the important thing to me is that you're thinking about being Jewish while you're on the ski slope and thinking about lunch. So they're both not kosher, fair enough. But like the fact that my little kids were like, and I would say to them, we don't keep kosher out the way we do at home. Doesn't mean that we throw the whole thing out, but at home is one thing and we do it the best we can. But when we're out, the point is to be grateful for your food, to, you know, eat with consciousness as much as we can, to not be, you know, separate ourselves from being animals. You know, that's the point of keeping kosher. It's not whether pepperoni is more or less kosher than, you know, than a chicken nugget. And it's more about bringing our Judaism into our real lives and being flexible with it.
Right.
And so we go to Disney World and okay, maybe, you know, we wouldn't eat the same thing that we would eat at home, or you're, you know, skiing and you have to make adaptations. And I do think without that, what are we going to tell our kids, that we're never going skiing? We're never leaving the house? That's not realistic. So, and I love the fact that you can see that doesn't hurt us, that actually strengthens us. And I'm happy.
Actually, good. I'm glad you're happy.
Not that this is all about
made
making
you
me
happy, Rabbi. That's
no,
great.
but it does, you know, give me faith that that, you know, the modern world, we can see Judaism as something valuable and holy without feeling guilt about it, and also without feeling like it's going to fall apart. You know, like there is some strength in that.
Doesn't it feel like it might fall apart?
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about that. What, and you know, obviously anti-Semitism is in our midst very strongly now. And so some people would say, well, we can't even kind of air our, not dirty laundry, but, you know, talk about the things that are challenging about Judaism. But for me personally, I think it's really important. You know, we're a Jewish community. We talk to people. I want our community to be a place where we can talk about Israel, talk about where we disagree. Because if we can't do it within ourselves, and maybe not everything is for, you know, for the general public, I do understand that. But I think with people that I feel comfortable with, that I know love Judaism, I'm perfectly fine to say, what is it that you find challenging? And what are the parts that, you know, sometimes, and I've talked to some of my teenagers about this, like, what are the parts that make you, you know, a little bit cringy, or, you know, or even on just a spiritual level that don't work for you? You know, like what is it about Judaism that you find challenging?
Judaism or being Jewish?
Both, however you want to take it. Yeah.
Again, we started with that, but
yeah.
I mean, right now being Jewish is very challenging, and it's frustrating and somewhat confusing to me. You know, what are we supposed to do in this world of unambiguous rising anti-Semitism? You know, I don't have all the answers. I'm trying to figure that out. Well, you know that. You know, how do we address the current challenges, the current environment? It's not wholly clear, and there's a lot of different ways to go about it. Something that's obviously really important to at least my family is the education component of that, which is not a wholesale change, but certainly something that we have to address. We have to recognize the viewpoint that is prevalent, especially with the youth, of the problems of the Jewish state, right, of Israel, of this whole colonialist, anti-Zionist. How do we address that with our kids? Oppressor, oppressed, whether we agree with it or not. And let me be clear, I don't agree with it, but certainly it has to be addressed. You can't step into a room with 30, 18, teen to 20 somethings and
think everybody
think that
they're not
they
talking about
they haven't been talked about it for their entire educational careers. And why were we asleep at the switch while that was happening? And there are a lot of and why isn't Israel addressing it? I mean, I would say that they haven't exactly clothed themselves in glory to figure out how to address that problem. So that's an important component for at least our family, and I haven't figured it out.
Okay.
I have a lot more questions than I have answers.
Yeah.
And then, for me, there's that global issue, which becomes a political issue, and then it also becomes a very personal issue. How do I address it in the context of keeping my family safe, which I think does come into question right now. I mean, how can we not say that? I mean, my kids have had experiences that I never had on their college campuses and in their lives. Is it good that I didn't feel comfortable sending my kid to Abu Dhabi to, a semester abroad? High-end problems, but but problems nonetheless. Sure. You can't be part an American, college kid who had that opportunity can't take advantage of it. Wow. We've had that experience. Maybe I'm lucky in some ways that my kids grew up during such tumultuous times, so that we can address it head on. They can see it head on. I've had a son, being yelled at from the encampments, at the in American universities, and I've had a daughter who's extremely supportive and Zionists, and she's had to deal with that on her campus as well, and it's all scary, and I don't have the answers. I'm kind of trying to find them the best I can. Providing a lot of support to them.
To help them navigate.
It's a tough environment.
It really is. And it's interesting. So for you, maybe more of the challenge comes from the Jewishness, not the Judaism. Would you say that just having a Jewish identity?
The Judaism is something that, as we just talked about, I'm probably not as steeped in. So, I'm trying.
But you're not anti.
I'm not anti. I'm trying to see how I can meld those two worlds.
And also what again, this is not a kiss up thing, but I really do. I'm so happy when I, get to know people and see that even if they haven't had an education, a lot of people get a little defensive. Oh, well, I didn't learn that, or that's not for me. And I'm sure mostly, because of Ivy and your own open-mindedness, have not rejected all of Judaism because you didn't learn the religious part as a kid as much.
Well, I would say maybe. I mean, you go through phases, and different things are important to you. I remember one of my kids, what do they call the hair cutting? The upshuren? The hair cutting.
Yeah.
Like, so this is how crazy it is and how paradoxical. And what I'm trying to resolve, personally is like, so my kid has an upshuren, which is probably a small percentage of Jews actually, right? Because that's, definitely my wife's influence. At the same time, I'm like talking to the rabbi, like, I don't know, I might be considered like an agnostic Jew.
And here you are doing
right.
Like this.
She's like, well,
it's okay. We're doing this Hasidic tradition.
I'm cutting the hair. I'm buying back my boys. it's like
so you're a good sport in that way.
Right. It's like Seinfeld, right?
Yeah. What am I doing exactly?
Right,
here?
exactly. I'm spotting dimes and eating onions. That's a famous Seinfeld episode. Like, I'm like confused by it.
Yeah. Okay.
And so,
but you're not anti.
No,
you're not anti. And
if that's what you want to hold on to, Rabbi.
I do. I give you credit for that. For not, I do think the adults that I encounter oftentimes, certain life cycle, weddings, people are a little more open. But oftentimes, our contemporaries are a little more, no, that's not for me. Or I want to be a good person. I don't need all those ritual trappings. And that's why I get to that spiritual versus religious conversation a lot, which I get.
Right.
I get.
But especially now, I think some of those people might be reevaluating. Maybe.
And I never want
to. Well, I can say I definitely reevaluated. And I could also say that as I've trying to navigate this part of my life in this environment, like there is a value to just the centering part of Judaism.
This is who we are.
Taking a deep breath. Well, not only that, taking a deep breath, taking
pause.
Shabbat. Yeah, Shabbat.
Okay.
Like, not getting so caught up and thinking about yourself and trying to make a difference. And, kind of the more Zen parts of Judaism.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
So
that are kind of undeniable, like that are not controversial.
Right.
We're going to give tzedakah. We're going to be kind. We're going to use our words well. We're going to pause. Like all of that.
We're going to pause. We're going to think about ourselves. We're going to try and, clear the clutter and find a true north.
Okay.
So, like, a couple of weeks ago, after that devastating stuff outside of Detroit, the devastating incident in what is it, Birmingham? No, it's what's the area in Detroit? It is Birmingham.
I think it's West Bloomfield.
Bloomfield. Right. Sorry, Birmingham's near there too, I think. Anyway, in West Bloomfield, like all my kids were in school. My wife happened to be out of town. I was by myself, and I needed some centering. It was so jarring. So I was down in Miami at work, and I called my mom, and I'm like, hey, it's Friday at 4. I'm like, let's just go to Friday night services for an hour just to get right? Just to be. Not even for the ritual or to hear the prayers, just to think and clear our minds and show support for the community.
That's amazing.
Which was great, which is exactly what I wanted to do, and I would have never done that even 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Now, it turned out we went to my old synagogue in unincorporated North Dade or Aventura, and it happened. So we went at the start, I don't know what it was, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and it happened to be like Disney Shabbat, where they're trying to get the kids. So we're sitting there, and there's just kids running around.
Oh my God! Okay.
So it didn't turn out the way we wanted to.
Not the quiet meditative
It was
Shabbat.
not meditative.
Okay.
And they were saying all the prayers to Disney songs.
Oh my God!
So
that's amazing. Okay.
Whatever the Ve'ahavta, the circle of life, is perfect. I think it was great. But it was almost.
That's funny.
It's like
Justin's deciding to go to services, and it's a Tat Shabbat.
Right. Yeah. It was a total Tat Shabbat.
Oh my God. Okay.
And you know what it taught me, Rabbi, is that I should have just come here. because it was definitely not a touch
Yeah,
about here.
no, we have touch about, but not
Yeah,
regular.
so
Yeah, but also it just teaches you like Judaism is there.
right.
I sometimes used to use kind of the insurance model. You know, like you hope you never need it, but if you need it, God forbid, somebody dies suddenly or whatever, you don't want to be uneducated. And that tradition is there. I don't love that model because it kind of
I
comes
don't
from
like that the way you put that.
yeah,
Actually, it's
yeah,
not insurance.
yeah.
It is
And
more.
it's
It's more
more than that.
foundational.
And it's more foundational and it's more positive.
Mhm.
You know, it's not for an emergency. So I don't use that framework anymore. But
Yeah.
I do like that idea that, you know, when we're feeling something, and good on you that you can say, hey, whether it's Tad Shabbat or Beat Shabbat or whatever, like Judaism is there. You'll find the right box, you
That's
know, the
right.
right four walls when the time comes. But Judaism is there. And even if it's planted, you know, deep in the recesses of our brain, to know that Friday night is a time where we can slow down, where we're allowed, you know, to not be on and not be worrying all the time. What a gift.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it really
And I don't need to go to temple to experience
100%.
that.
Exactly.
So for us,
exactly.
yeah,
your
you know,
Shabbat
Friday
with your family.
night, like our kids, everybody knows, you know, the grandparents will be there, we'll be there, and they will be there.
Yeah.
Like, you want to go to that party, it's going to be after Shabbat,
right?
That's the time for us. And
Yeah.
even when they're not at home, they'll dial in to
They
do
the prayers with
the
you.
prayers with us.
That's
and that's a really centering thing.
That's
you know,
beautiful.
that has been centering in our lives, and it's really helped us. And it we've mentioned it several times, but I believe it's provided my kids a tremendous foundation
For sure.
to deal with what they're dealing with now. Like, I am so empathetic. I mean, no matter what I'm dealing with, they're kind of in the middle of that firestorm even more, and it's tough.
It really
It
is.
really is difficult.
Yeah, it is. I wrote some articles the other day about talking to different age kids about Israel, so I'll share them with you.
Oh, wonderful.
All right, so last question. You did great, Justin. Thank you for talking and being so open and all of it. It's
my pleasure.
Fun for me to
Thanks
hear.
for inviting me.
No, it's funny. I said to you, like, I can invite all the people who agree with me, but I'd rather have the people who don't agree with me.
Am I not agreeing with you?
No, and we actually are agreeing, but it's
if you want to have a fight,
you're
let's you know, like, throw out one of your controversial views and we'll fight it.
Totally. No, but I do think like it's not useful is not the right word. It's educational, you know, I think. And that's what I'm hoping to share with the series is that Judaism is not one thing that we're all making our own choices. We're all making it up as we go. You know, nobody's sitting at home, oh, I'm doing rule 612 today and rule 27 tomorrow. You know, we live in the real world. And at the same time, Judaism can be a big part of that. And Judaism can help us, can give us tools for dealing with the craziness. Well, it has for me.
I don't know about other people.
I think that's
we need more people to find that, because
you
know, because we have a lot of intermarriage and we have a lot of you know, like, that's really frustrating and scary.
And it is, but not just for the purpose of perpetuating Judaism, but for the purpose of that personal growth, that we can be better. It helps us evolve into who we want to be in ways that we might not have thought of before. Like you said, 5 years ago, you wouldn't have even thought on a stressful Friday to go to Shabbat.
Not a chance.
And there it is. And whether
I would have gone to a lot of vodka. Would probably be what I would have done.
I can relate. It would be bourbon, but I can totally relate.
And there is definitely catharsis in that too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all the tools. We're doing them all. All right. So my last question, 4, which is really for you to ask me, totally unscripted. So
yeah, this is unscripted. I don't know what to ask. I do think that the face of Judaism is changing, right? And I'm not going to be that judgmental, but I don't know if it's for the better or not for the better. You know, I'll give you an example. What is the fastest growing, you know, I wouldn't call it sect, but synagogue, you know, part of Judaism is Chabad. Not necessarily where I find solace, right? You know, when I'm walking down the street in Barcelona and we want to visit the Jewish sites, and the pods jumps out and says, "Rep to fill in with me," and I'm like, no thanks. It's just not where I'm. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I think they've done Chabad's done a great job of outreach and all of that, but the landscape of Judaism and how Jews are practicing Judaism throughout the world, not just in Israel, where it becomes much more political, I think, but throughout the world is changing. And so the question I have for you is, I think we're a little bit ahead of this, because the way that I grew up experiencing Judaism and creating a community and being part of a synagogue, it's a lot different than Neshamah is. And how did you come up with that idea, which is almost like creating this community, but not around a property or like, because that is I think was a breakthrough, tremendously different. And are other people successful with that model? Did you come up with that model?
No.
Darn it!
I know you're giving me so much credit.
I was giving you so much credit.
No. I mean, so thank you for saying that. Thank you for seeing that Neshamah is different, and it is. But no, I there has been. It actually was based on a Christian model. They didn't call it synagogue without walls, but kind of like the young pastors would come in, like especially like there's one famous story of a pastor who ran a mega church, and then his son, of course, was going to be a pastor, but he didn't want to be in a mega church. He wanted to be like in his living room with like what we would call like a little chavurah, and so he did a break off, and that kind of grew within the Christian movement. I think this is kind of how I've learned the history.
This is the genesis of your idea to do it?
Not exactly. I learned about it after. I wasn't influenced by the church, obviously, but it wasn't something that even the Jewish world created, this idea of kind of smaller pods. And for many years now, probably, at least 30 years, there have been like what was called like the minyan movement, or the synagogue without walls movement, where a rabbi wasn't even needed, and just a group of people, like at
I just think it's more unique. I think it's unique in Judaism. I mean, Christianity is a missionary religion.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more for that.
For saving souls
without walls. Like just go out and
do your thing.
and do and convert.
Yeah.
That's not a very Jewish thing. I don't think it is at all.
No,
I think it's actually
But I did know that the building wasn't the draw. I worked at a big building for many years, a big, beautiful building, and it was empty a lot. And it did not, institutional Judaism, this is my controversial statements, was not working for a lot of people. I really could see that firsthand. I was on the ground, and people would come for their bar mitzvah or for their baby naming or for the wedding, but they didn't learn anything about Jewish. They didn't feel connected to a community. The rabbi the next week wouldn't remember who the kid was that was standing right next to him or her on the bima the week before. No offense, but it was a lot of people and not a lot of connection. And for me, I didn't go to 6 years of rabbinical school to be at fundraising meetings and to, run a cattle, factory, what's that word? The conveyor belt. Like I didn't, I would be exhausted, like trying to remember whose name and whose bar mitzvah was next and where I'm supposed to be when. And it wasn't all like that. There were, a lot of really good, I learned a lot in my years as kind of I call myself the corporate rabbi.
The institutional
rabbi. But it was not sustainable. It was not sustainable for me personally. It wasn't a sustainable model. The money wasn't really working. Do
you think more congregations are going to be like you?
I do. I mean, there are several in New York now. There's several, and I'm not we're kind of the one here in Florida, but we're following a model of Ikar in LA. There's one in Chicago called, I don't know if it's Marom or Macomb. Anyway, but like pop-ups are kind of happening because the four walls of the synagogue and synagogues also have evolved into like having a young 20s minyan,
right.
but it's not. That's kind of it's just kind of dressing something up
So
that's
what do
not
you
really
see
there.
10 years from now, the Jewish landscape?
I mean,
what is going to be
what
the
I hope,
engaged Jewish community
yeah,
doing?
what I hope is that we really are in a renaissance now where people can learn online, where people can learn without membership dues, where people can just show up. I think that just opening the door really widely has brought new people here that wouldn't have been here before, yourselves probably included. And yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
You would have been somewhere.
Ivy sought it out. She, don't you think?
You guys would have been somewhere.
Yeah, that was you. That's the second time you should feel chosen.
Thank you. I do. But I do think, people who, would have felt like traditional synagogue was not for them. Now there are models where people can, and you can come in through many different doors. One of the things that I really feel proud of in Neshamah is that some people only come to the mitzvah projects. Rosh Hashanah, Shabbat, maybe not for them, but they know that this is a place where we do mitzvot in the community, where they can enact that vibe to come and be part of our cooking crew or to volunteer at the foster care village that we're doing in May. Like, that's meaningful to them, and that is their expression of Judaism. And I want to hecture that. Like, I want to say, yes, you don't have to sit in shul every Saturday with a prayer book, and your challah on your table to be Jewish. It is a wide definition of Judaism, and I think synagogues have been in the business frequently of just perpetuating themselves, and I don't want to do that.
Right.
I want to perpetuate
Is that accepted,
Judaism.
Though? The wide?
Probably not. No.
No, I'm just saying right now. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you're in the scholarly rabbi community. Do they accept a wide definition of Judaism?
I don't think so.
Is it still Reform, conservative, and Orthodox?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think there's kind of a branding and a territorialism to it that I honestly don't feel. I would always say when people...
You think that's destructive for the Jew?
I do.
For Jews?
I do.
Is this more than one question. Okay. Is this unique to the United States, or is that a
I do think it's a bit unique to the United States, and Israel it's a whole different scenario.
I'm not talking about Israel. I'm talking about, like, is that how it is in Western Brazil, Europe or Australia or...
I don't know. I don't really know. I think there are fewer options. So here we have a lot of options, which is a blessing, but also then people feel very territorial. Well, you have to be my congregant. And I don't need you to be my congregant. I do feel a little bit separated from that mission. If people are learning about Judaism and they go to Shabbat or high holidays somewhere else, yay. If they take a class with me and that turns them on to do something, they want to put on tefillin every day. This is not the place, but I can still teach you. I don't have a vehicle for you to do that every day, but I do have a vehicle to teach, and then I can connect you with something. And I feel really proud, honestly. And that's a piece that I didn't have collaboration with at the beginning. I think maybe a little bit more now, but people would come to me and say, ooh, we're going to have a lot of people coming that are going to need to walk on Shabbat, and we want to have our bar mitzvah. And I would say, I don't have the right thing for you. You really belong over here. Right. And I didn't get the vice versa on that, where people would say, hey, we have all these rules and maybe you really belong at Neshamah. I would have loved if I had some. Oh, really? Yeah, some referrals.
It was a one-way referral. It was
kind of a one-way referral, but that's okay. Like, I feel like I'm modeling something that there's enough Judaism and there are enough Jews.
You should be proud of what you've built.
And I am. I'm, this is a home for a lot of people, and we don't do everything. If you... again, want to put on tefillin every day or go to all 8 days of Hanukkah minyan and hear the Torah reading, we're not doing that because there are other great places to do that. I really wanted to fill a gap, but I also didn't want to be watered down Judaism. Right. I really wanted to be something that could be authentic and substantial and represent what our core really is. And so we're built on 3 cores. We do good Jewish education, we do meaningful services, and we do mitzvah work. And that's what we do. And and I feel like it's been sanity preserving for me that I can focus. If it doesn't fit that mission, if someone says we really want to do a book group or we really want to do Torah study, I can almost always say yes, but I also have to know not at the expense of the other 3 things. And so as a director, it's been helpful for me. I don't have to do everything. and I have, you know, an amazing team. So that's also been great. But yeah, I do hope in 10 years that the average Jew on the street feels that there are a lot of places they can go and they can learn over here and observe over there and eat over there and do art over there and do music over there, and that it's a broad Jewish world, and that their soul, honestly, in kind of a cheesy spiritual way, but can be enriched in lots of different environments, because I do believe that's what Judaism is.
All right, well, kumbaya to you,
I'm
Rabbi.
a dreamer.
I know, right?
I'm a dreamer. Yes.
How idealistic is that?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
but rather
I hope
than
that
say,
works out.
I do think some people would say, you know, I want more Orthodox Jews, or I want more conservative Jews.
Right.
And I want more engaged Jews.
Right.
I want more engaged Jews. I want people
Whatever,
who know
yeah.
and who care and who have expanded themselves, you know, for their own benefit, not for the Jewish world, not to fight anti-Semitism, to have more good people in the world. Because I do think Judaism cultivates that. I do.
Well, thank you for having me.
Amazing. All right. Thanks, Justin. This was really, really fun.